The Department of Justice under Pam Bondi, they don't even understand basic first-year law school concepts. Like they went to a federal immigration judge and had them issue what's called a nunc-pro-tunc order to try to fix a problem related to Abrego Garcia as they continue to try to remove him in violation of his constitutional rights and send him to Africa. Judge Zinnes said, you don't even have a final order of removal from an immigration judge to base your removal on. They said, oh no, we do, Judge. We're going to go back to the immigration judge and we're going to get what should have been granted and provided in 2019. We're going to make him go do it now and fix the clerical error. Except the immigration judge issued what we call in the business a nunc-pro-tunc order, which means now as if then. In other words, it's a fix, it's a wallpaper, it's a little bit of a trick where if you go to a federal judge or any judge and you say, I need you to kind of run the Wayback Machine, the time machine, and fix a problem in the past, but fix it now, right? And so under that concept, now for then, nunc-pro-tunc, they got a day or so after Judge Zinnes threw up her hands in December and said, how can you remove him to another country and violate his civil rights and detain him and keep him in detention when you don't even have the final order of removal? Oh, no, we got it. We got it. Nunc-pro-tunc, Judge. And because they fundamentally don't understand what that phrase means, Judge Zinnes, in the last 24 hours, granted the temporary restraining order to prevent them from capturing Abrego Garcia again, taking away his freedom, and trying to remove him. In effect, the judge has said, you have waived your right. You have waived your right because you are 5 years late in removing him from this country under constitutional principles and Supreme Court precedent. And maybe you should go back to night school to figure out what orders mean. I'm Michael Popok. I know what they mean. You're here on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. Let's get down to the new filing and the new order that's just come out with Judge Zinnes in District of Columbia. Now, we all know, or if not, let me tell you now, the story of Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man married to an American citizen with 2 children. Picked up and accused of being a Tren de Aragua gang member, although there's no proof of that. In fact, every court that's looked at the issue, from federal judges in Tennessee to New York to immigration judges, have rejected the evidence that he's a member of Tren de Aragua. Notwithstanding that, he was put on a plane in the middle of the night in shackles, sent to El Salvador, where upon arrival, he was tortured. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, had to admit to a federal judge that he was illegally sent because he had in his back pocket an order to prevent his removal to El Salvador, okay, in particular. And yet he went to El Salvador. The lawyer that admitted that in open court was not commended and pat on the back by the Department of Justice. He was fired for telling the truth. But that fact that he was illegally sent to El Salvador remains with the case. Even the United States Supreme Court, in reviewing Abrego's case and granting his petition 9-0, supporting Judge Zinnes back over the summer, said, Zinnes is right. You need United States government to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia to the United States for due process purposes. They didn't like that, so to retaliate against the department, against Judge Zinnes, and they're losing, they manufactured a criminal case against Abrego Garcia, claiming that he was a human trafficker, or actually a human smuggler of people, because he got stopped 4 years ago during a traffic stop with 7 people in the car. The judges that have looked at that evidence said it was insufficient to keep him in jail and released him. Judge Crenshaw, the criminal court judge, federal judge in Tennessee, in about 8 days is going to be holding a hearing to decide whether he's going to dismiss the criminal case because of vindictive prosecution by the Department of Justice, which brings us full circle to Judge Zinnes in Maryland. She had a temporary restraining order in place before the holidays that he wasn't going to go anywhere until she had an opportunity to have this issue fully briefed and decide about whether there's ever been an order of removal and what is the impact of the new piece of paper that the Department of Justice breathlessly comes into her courtroom with. Judge, we got the order. See, it's dated January, but it relates back to 2019. And the judge says, exactly. And that's what a nunc-pro-tunc order does. It means now for then. Fix it now for something that happened then. But the clock, under the constitutional principles, including a case called Zedvius, says that within 6 months, or at least, within 6 months after an order of removal is issued by an immigration judge, the person has to be removed from the country and can only be detained in a cell for that 9-month period. And if by the end of the 6-month period, they do not remove him, then the government has forfeited its right to continue to detain him. They can start another process to remove, but they can't detain in the meantime. And the judge says, nunc-pro-tunc means the thing happened back in 2019, which means you're 6 years late in trying to remove him to fill in the blank for some faraway African country. Because to punish Abrego Garcia, who has no links to Africa, they're threatening and continuing to try to send him to like Liberia and Cameroon, 3,000 miles away from his family in Maryland, instead of where he said he will go. Let me make this clear. Kilmer Abrego Garcia has said he knows he's going to get removed one day from the United States under the Trump era. He's willing to go, send him to Costa Rica. They said, the Department of Justice, this is where the vindictive prosecution came in, said, we'll do it, but you have to admit guilt that you committed those crimes in Tennessee. He said, I'm not. They said, we're sending you to Africa. That's what's happened here, that the judges know about. So Judge Zinnes said 6 years ago, and I don't see you taking any steps now to send him, even if you're right that it's January. I don't see you taking any steps at all to send him to Cameroon or to Liberia. So I am going to continue to have him out